What's going on, everybody? So I just got back from Scarefest 2024, and I thought I'd jump on here and share my experience now that I'm back from the convention. So including this one, this is only my second ever convention, and I thought it was just such a blast. My first one was actually last year at Silver Scream Con, and while I loved my time there, I knew that it was gonna be a much bigger scale when I went to Scarefest. And you know, even though this was my second ever convention and my first time at Scarefest, I feel like I checked off every box that I really wanted to. Having been a novice and by nature I like to be prepared, I knew that I had to be there early for both days that I went since I didn't really go on Sunday. I flew out on Thursday night and knowing that I was only going to be able to really spend a lot of time there, mainly Friday and Saturday. So Sunday I knew that that wasn't going to be an option, so I made sure I took advantage of both Friday and Saturday. Right from the start, I'm not going to criticize the host or the staff for the congestion that you would feel at times throughout the convention. There was many times where, yeah, obviously there was huge crowds of people, but honestly I feel like that's just something that's inevitable when you're dealing with events that are that large in scale. And again, being a novice, me and my wife made sure to keep tabs on the Facebook group where they would constantly be updating whether it was schedule changes, vendor updates, even celebrities canceling or being added in. So that being said, even though this was my first time at Scarefest, I never felt like anything was messy or I didn't know exactly where I needed to go, because the map perfectly laid out where everything was and it was easy to follow. So starting with day one, when I showed up, it was around like 2 or 1:45ish, and the convention didn't start until 4, so I knew that I had 2 hours of overtime, and still there was like a pretty solid line of people. And pretty much once they started letting people in, at least again in my experience, it was going so smoothly. I got in probably, I want to say, around 4:30. However, something just of the nature of conventions is that time moves way too fast. The convention started at 4 and it ended around 8. But honestly, those hours went by so fast. Like, I, on Friday, was only able to do a limited amount of things. And I had intended on doing a lot more on Friday, but those hours just flew by, man. However, it was still a complete success. I got to meet Nick Castle, which was such an amazing guy. That was my first time actually meeting him. And he was talking to me about his movies that he really loved. He talked about Hereditary, that being one of his more modern favorite movies. He was also saying how weird it is that he's had so many decades of recognition for having no voice and literally no face because you never actually see him. He was just a joy to talk to, and he was such a nice guy. I loved every second that I got to talk to him, and I actually got a couple of minutes with him on Friday because on Friday all the lines were actually a bit shorter than on Saturday. So I don't know if that was me just being greedy, but I got a good amount of time with him. One of the other things that I also really liked was that the host mapped out everything almost by like franchise. So, a lot of the Michaels, they were together. A lot of the people from Scream were together. A lot of the people from the Chucky series were together. Even the Rob Zombie Halloween franchise, that one was put together. So it was like all neatly packaged together. So it made it easy to know where to go when you knew what franchise you wanted to tackle. After talking to Nick Castle, I went to meet James Jude Courtney, and he too was just so amazing. He was so nice. He was telling us how his mom was actually so proud of him when he finished the trilogy with David Gordon Green. Obviously, for both of them, I had to make sure I got their signatures on the mask. And that being said, that was kind of one of my goals. I wanted to make sure that I got as many of the signatures from the Myers guys that I possibly could at this convention. After that, I actually got really lucky because in the second floor, Clive Barker was having basically like a room just solely dedicated to his artwork, his scripts, his books, everything, basically just recognizing and acknowledging what he's done with his legacy. And the line was kind of like blocked off before I had gotten there because pretty much unintentionally when I was going down to the second floor, that's when I heard them announce you can now meet Clive Barker and have him sign anything if you'd like to. And that was perfectly timed because I just said, oh, perfect, I'm just gonna walk right in and get it. And of course I did. And it was just an honor to meet him. That was basically the best way that I can describe it. It was just so awesome to meet a guy that has done so much. And he was in a very fragile state, so I didn't really get to talk a lot to him. But it was it was just an honor. That's pretty much all I can really say. And later that day, I had two professional photo offshoots that I thought went pretty smoothly. I had one with Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich, and then the other one was with the entire Myers group, which was Nick Castle, Dick Warlock, Tom Morga, Tyler Main, and James Jude Courtney. And it was just so sick to be able to be in the same room with them and have a picture with them. It was just a surreal experience, something that I really don't think I'd forget anytime soon. And that was pretty much the end of Friday. It really felt like a blur. I really didn't get much time to spend with the vendors and just kind of walk the aisles because of how much time I dedicated to the signatures. And even though I knew that was fully on me, I knew I was going to make sure that on Saturday I was definitely going to be able to explore the ground and be able to see all the aisles and all the vendors, because a lot of that's the fun, you know? So for Saturday, the doors opened at 10 a.m. for VIP and 11 for GA. I had a weekend pass for GA, so I knew I had to be up a bit extra early, so I went there by 7:30. I was already online, maybe 7:45ish, but around that time. And it was still a great spot because when I was there, I really only had like, I want to say in distance, like 25-30 meters away from the door, which in the grand scheme of things is not far. Especially when it was like 9:30, which was still an hour and a half ahead, there was like a snake trail behind me. It was just insane. Mind you, everybody and their mother was basically talking about how they wanted to get Matthew Lillard's signatures or be able to say hi to him, as well as Skeet Ulrich. And since I knew that that too was one of my goals, I made sure we divided and conquered. And basically, Nikki went to go see Skeet Ulrich and make the line for him, while I went to the other line that would basically give me a ticket to be able to make a line later on in the day to meet Matthew Lillard. And it worked perfectly because once I got my ticket, I went straight to Nikki to catch up to be able to get online for Skeet Ulrich. And we were basically towards the front because that was like the first thing we knew we had to do. And we met him probably an hour in after the convention opened. And this was probably my favorite part of the entire day, because I think I'm not dramatic when I say I probably had like at least 5 minutes with Skeet Ulrich. I don't know what happened that we were actually talking a lot. He was talking about the films that he liked. He was talking about that he's more into dramas. He actually recommended watching Strange Darling. I told him about how some of my favorite movies include like Wicker Man or The Witch and American Psycho. And I even told him, I was like, I honestly feel like Christian Bale took inspiration from you because he had that like suave nature just like you. And he just laughed and said thank you for the compliment, because he also admires Christian Bale a lot. And it was just really, really cool. One of the funniest bits about it that I knew I was going to bring up on Saturday if I got to talk to him, which I did, on Friday when we had the photo op shoot, after we took the shot, he leaned over and commented saying, "Damn man, you don't have to lift all the weights." And I just thought that was so funny. So on Saturday when I told him about it and told him that it was so encouraging and it was so nice of him to say that, we took a picture, and it was just a funny picture because, it was just a flex, but he was like, "That's a great idea," and we did, and it was just amazing. And I thought that was 100% the highlight of my day. And one of the reasons why I'm pretty sure it was actually such a long conversation was, one, because it was earlier in the day, but two, the staff made eyes at him and kind of told him like, cut it, because me and him would just kept going, and it was really, really awesome. Like I'm fully aware that he definitely does as much as he can with the guests, but I'm just gonna be greedy and say I had a really long time with him. It was great. It was awesome. And luckily, I was done being able to talk with Skeet Ulrich around like 12ish, and at like 1 I was already online for Matthew Lillard because I was in Group D, which was pretty early actually. It was really cool. During one of his breaks, he came around and was kind of like high-fiving everybody, and I got to actually like interact with him around like 2. So the wait time was about like 2 hours, I want to say, give or take. Definitely worth it. My conversation with Matthew Lillard was much smaller, to be fair, but also I'm fully aware that the guy was probably exhausted. Like him and Skeet Ulrich were probably taking photo ops on Friday until like midnight on Friday. I don't even know. Like, it must have been insane. And he was going to have to do that again Saturday. So these guys aren't robots. Like, they definitely have limited battery. And honestly, I don't even know how they were able to do it all with a smile on. But yeah, after I got to meet Matthew Lillard, it was just like those two big check boxes are done, and there was still so much left in the rest of the day that I knew I was going to be able to do a lot more and explore. I was also able to get a photo op picture with Kane Hodder. I got signatures from Dick Warlock, Tyler Mane. Tyler Mane, oh my god, this dude is so sweet. He's like a gentle giant. It was one of the funniest things because he literally was gonna have to be cut off right in front of me because I was literally next in line, and he kind of just looked at me. I was like, all right, don't worry, like I'll get you and then I'll leave to do, like, I guess it was a panel or probably one of the photo op shoots. But I was just like, that is so kind of you to do. And like I was already expecting, like, okay, I'm gonna have to wait here, like, 45 minutes for him to come back, and I was gonna do it. But the fact that he chose to give me the opportunity to not have to do that, it was just amazing. It was so cool. The dude is a giant, and he's also the sweetest guy ever. But by the end of the day, I found a thing that I never knew that I was gonna need so badly, because I am a huge fan of Basket Case, and it's such a little known movie. I get it. It's from the 80s. It's schlocky. It's very, low budget. But there's just something so charming about Belial. And there was a vendor that made these custom made. And I was like, you're never going to see this type of thing in like a store or on a rack. Like this you don't see this at all. It's perfectly made. Like it is so well detailed, and it looks exactly like Belial, to the point that I already ordered the basket for it. Probably one of the best $50 I spent at the convention, just because this to me, like, I didn't really get too many knickknacks, if you want to call them, or decor or anything like that. But this one, once I got to see it, and I immediately was like, I need it. I just absolutely have to get it. And so I did. And now I have them with me. And yeah, during the day, a lot of the vendors were really, really fun and interactive. There was a lot of stuff that I got for friends. There was this like amazing little shop that it was called Little Shop of Horror, or something like that. But like she was so creative and so meticulous and detailed in her little figures that I was blown away. She had like replicas of Stephen King's book, but in like mini form, and she had printed out like every page basically, and script and actual text that was in the pages. But it was like itty bitty. Like if it was 2 inches tall, that was saying a lot. Like she had so much stuff. She had the boat from Jaws. She had a lot of stuff that was so cool, and that was probably one of my favorite vendors, to the point that I got one of them. It's a Freddy glove, and it's really, really cute. You could either hang it like on a wall or just have it standing vertically. It was really, really cool, and I loved it. And yeah, overall, I mean, I feel like the convention was just amazing, and I truly feel like I got the best experience I probably could have gotten out of this convention, to the point that it was more than what I was expecting. I didn't think I was going to be able to cross off as many boxes as I did. Like, it was just that awesome. I put in a lot of time and effort for it as well, but it was really worth it. It was just so much fun. I can't believe how fast the time went there, to the point that I really wish that I could have explored more. There was like the Christine car, there was the Jeepers Creepers truck that I didn't get to take a picture with. There was so much stuff that it's impossible basically to get across through everything. But I feel like that's the kind of the point. Like, you get as much of it as you want, and then hopefully you can get more things done next time you visit. It's just it's a blast. And if this is what it's like going to conventions, and this is only my second one, I definitely plan on going to more and more, because I just can't wait to see what other people I'd be able to meet, or things that I'd get to experience in other conventions. It was just amazing. But that's it for me. I'd appreciate a thumbs up, subscribe, and sincerely yours, Anthony.